What's up YouTube? Jason here with Bite My Bits, and this is episode number 4 of Jason Bites Back. I know it's a little late, and I apologize. Okay, so usually I try to do this like the last day of every month, but I have been swamped. So again, I apologize. And in fact, I am still swamped. So when I remembered that I haven't done this, I literally forgot. I went back through and I was trying to find questions and I was going deep, like 3-4 weeks into it. And I was just like, man, I can't find good questions or a lot of questions. And finally I was just like, you know what? I have like 6 questions. So that's gonna have to do. And here's the reason why, I'll tell you right now. Zeus is broke. That's right, Zeus, my big server, my main server, is currently having some issues. And because I am obsessed with Plex, I am obsessed with my server, I really need to fix that. So I'm going to record this, I'm gonna edit it as quick as I can, and I'm gonna upload that, and then I'm gonna get right into fixing Zeus. Don't worry, I plan on making a video about it, possibly, if I can make it interesting. If not, I don't know, but I'm more along the lines of just wanna get Plex back up and running, get the server running good again. So yeah. And to give an update for those of you who may or may not care, as you could tell in videos, I have gotten the cast off. However, I still cannot bend my pinky. I was going to therapy, which I told them to go screw themselves because it was a waste of my time and money, because it's literally the tendon is held to the back of my skin. And even though they knew that, they still wanted to charge me money to go to therapy. So after I told them, no, we're not doing that, now they have signed me up for another surgery on the 19th of September to go in there and dislocate the tendon. As you can see here, if I push this back, see how it's like stuck there? Yeah, so they're gonna cut that off and they're gonna free it loose. So I should be able to bend my pinky first of all and also get full range of it, hopefully. So another surgery coming in, yay! Also, huge shout out to all of my patrons. Again, thank you very much for supporting me. You know, as I've done in the past, I will also list my Patreon supporters at the end of this video, so look out for that. For those $10 subscribers, I don't know why you're giving me $10, but hey, you are. So I did post a video on the Patreon page that you can go and you can watch if you like. It's not very good. It's basically me drunk talking about some of the Plex stuff that went down. Probably a little bit more brutally honest than I should have been. But I had a few beers and that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. So shout out to my latest $10 Patreon subscriber, Finn, I think is his name, Finn. Holla. If you want to cancel, I understand. And yes, if you see this stuff up here, these are like, okay, so I've been swamped because I decided to make a different change, like a little bit of a change to my channel. Believe it or not, even at how small my channel is, I get a ton of requests to review sometimes just some of the stupidest stuff, things that they just don't make sense. Everything from like these $400 or $500 watches made out of wood and some other exotic materials that they wanted me to review, to headphones or, USB cables. I mean, I get all kinds of requests and I either ignore them or turn them down. And it's always the same thing in my head, like how does this even relate to my channel whatsoever? And also it's one of those things, it's like I'm pretty busy already, both with jobs, weddings and everything else. I don't really have time to meet all those commitments. So the recent change lately, I've been like, you know what, I'm gonna try to find some of these things that people are sending me requests to, and I'm gonna see if I can find a way to relate those to my audience somehow. Like the Kingbox media player, obviously that related to my audience because they like clients. The projector, again, relates to people playing media. I got these awesome freaking speakers that at first I wasn't going to completely ignore. I was like, I don't really think anyone's going to care about these. But then I got that projector thing and I was like, you know what? Maybe if you had one of these, you had the projector and you had a Bluetooth enabled, media player, you could have like an on the go audio setup thing going on. And I thought that'd be really cool. So I ended up deciding to test those things out and they are actually pretty cool. They have some flaws, but holy crap, that is a lot of sound out of a little box. It's pretty impressive. So look out for that video. I haven't even done it yet. I'm still kind of sort of testing, and it's also just kind of on the waiting list, but I'm still excited. They're nice. I love them. So anyways, I'm moving forward. I'm trying to get more reviews underneath my belt. Ultimately, what I would really like, and this is like kind of a goal for this channel, is to review computer parts, or more specifically, computer parts in relation to how well can they perform in a server environment, a home server environment. Obviously, you can build professional systems with Xeons and all this other crap, but at the end of the day, we got a lot of people that just want to spend like maybe $200-300 or maybe $500 or $600, less than $1,000, whatever, and they want a super powerful computer. So my idea, hopefully with the channel, is to get to a point where I am getting review samples on, new mid-range CPUs or some mid-range motherboards that I can build into a media server and test its capabilities and see what, people can actually get for their money out of that kind of hardware. I can't afford to buy that kind of stuff now. I think I'm gonna have to start off by buying that kind of stuff, but in the future, I would like that review process to come up to where I have that opportunity. And heck, maybe even, most likely, if that ever does happen, assuming I have good relationships with, those companies, I could probably even do some giveaways with those servers if that ever happens. That's kind of my goal. Holy crap, it's been 7 minutes in recording, so I'm just gonna skip ahead to the first question. Number 1, Alexander? I don't get the live TV feature if I already have to pay the provider and most of them offer DVD already. Anybody enlighten me? Well, Alexander, it's very simple. 1, you don't already have to pay your subscriber or your provider. The reason is that Plex Live DVR or the Live TV works not only with cable subscriptions, but you can use over-the-air signals. So if you're in an area where you get a lot of TV channels, anywhere, 5, 10, or maybe even more TV channels, free for over-the-air, that is a great resource to build your library with, daytime TV shows. And even if you had a cable provider and you had a DVR with that provider, and don't, burn me if I'm wrong here, but it's my understanding that within certain limitations, you don't have very much control over that media. Whereas if you go through and you set up your Plex DVR to record those live TV shows, maybe you're taking out the commercials or whatever, that's your media now to control. You can move from one media server to another. You can share it with your family. You can tune into live TV anywhere outside your home, assuming you have the right box to do it. So it opens up a whole realm of different possibilities. Yeah, you need some extra hardware, you gotta set it up, but that's where all the fun is. Number 2 is from Netix. Hey Jason, seems that the Byte My Bits code for the 3-month free Plex Pass doesn't work anymore. Do you know if it's still valid? That was 1 week ago from today. Okay. I'm pretty sure I touched base on this again, but I just kind of wanted to pick this question because a lot of people have been asking me like, dude, why did this stop? Are you gonna give us another update, or is this gonna run again, et cetera, et cetera? And I'll answer this right now. Number 1, Plex stopped that thing because it blew up. I got on PC World, Slick Deals, some other stuff, I don't remember them all, but those are the 2 main ones. Oh, and Reddit as well. And those are kind of the 3 main ones. And it kind of blew up faster than they expected. Okay, my camera literally just crashed. That sucked. But anyways, while Plex didn't give me any kind of goals or any like specific numbers that they wanted to reach, I knew that they were being aggressive, running the ad campaign and all that other stuff, but they never gave me the number that they were trying to like signups to go for. And after it blew up, it got on all those different websites, it just kind of snowballed out of control. And, they're getting a bunch of free signups, people getting into the Plex Pass for free. And, I'm not sure. They didn't really tell me. They're like, hey, we kind of hit some crazy numbers and we want to stop. So count that whole run as like a test. They're just like, hey, let's see if this worked. Oh crap, it works. And then there we are. I don't know if they're going to run it again. I think they're probably going to see what kind of success rate they have with people who decide to keep the Plex Pass. This is all speculation. I have absolutely no idea. Very little direct communication from their internal discussions coming to me. I'm just, kind of here to help with the campaign, and that's about it. But if I had to guess here, I would say that they're probably just going to, see how well the campaign does, see if, those free trials turn into actual subscriptions. And if so, if it was successful, then maybe we might have another one? Question mark. So next question is from Eddie. Hi, excuse me, where can I get Zeus system? Hello, Eddie. Okay, so Zeus was kind of a project build that I did, and he actually commented on one of the questions, or on one of the videos that I had. And Eddie, or anybody else out there who wants a Zeus or a system like Zeus, I will tell you one thing. Anytime you want to build a system like that, it really is just up to the eBay gods, as it were, because I just piece stuff together from eBay, from some other computer sites, but primarily eBay, just getting, reconditioned or, recycled enterprise class hardware. What I would recommend is to go to Reddit and go to /HomeLab. You're going to find a bunch of people who do this kind of thing all the time. They scour the internet looking for these kinds of deals and HomeLab, things that they could set up. So if you go there and you make an account or whatever, and you post hey, I want to build the server that can do this, this, and this, and I want to do this, this, and this. Somebody there can point you in the right direction as far as what hardware you're going to need, or they think you're going to need, where you can get it, what the cheap options would be, etc. But Zeus is kind of a unique system because although I did buy it pre-built, I made some modifications to it, mainly around sound, because holy crap, it was loud, and I had to cut that out immediately. All right, next question is from Justin. What's your thought on the new CPUs from AMD, Ryzen, Threadripper, Epic? I'm currently running the latest RC for Unraid, that's 6.4 RC7A at the time of this comment, and it added better compatibility for the Ryzen CPUs. Also, the web UI is incredibly fast in the latest RC. Okay, here's my thoughts. I have no idea. In my Patreon video, I actually discussed some different things that I was talking about, maybe building a new Threadripper build. It's a whole lot of ifs and buts and maybes and potentiallys, and I want to see, what the new Intel, the 18 core processors are going to be like, to see how they measure up to Threadripper. Even though I know they're going to be freaking $2,000 compared to a $1,000 Threadripper CPU. So if I ever got that, it would just be an idiotic move on my part. But nobody has ever really called me smart. So, well, my grandma called me smart. That's not to say I want to actually get a $2,000 CPU. I'm just, when there's options out in the market, things sometimes get cheaper. Sometimes they don't, but sometimes they get cheaper. Or you have everything you need to make the decision. Here's what I can say. I have read some stuff. I didn't look that much into it because honestly, I didn't really care for the most part. But I heard some stuff with maybe, different NAS operating systems were having some compatibility issues with Threadripper and or Ryzen. I also read some stuff about that getting potentially fixed or updated through BIOS or firmware and stuff like that. So that is a very big possibility that if you wanted to get into a Ryzen Threadripper build, I would probably just look at compatibility first. Get on Reddit, check to see what other people are doing. If they're having issues running, things like FreeNAS or Unraid with those CPUs, because that's going to be your go-to thing. If you hook it all up, get it all installed, and then realize that Unraid can't recognize hard drives, you're going to be like, WTF. And that's not a thing. I'm just hypothetically. I would actually love to test a Threadripper computer, but I kind of fantasy built a Threadripper system and I very quickly got up to $5,000 or $6,000. I have a problem. Nobody really needs 128 gigabytes of RAM, but for some reason it was in my shopping cart. So to be determined, may or may not build a Threadripper build. I'm really thinking about it. I just want to see what the 18 core Intel CPUs look like first. Next question, I think the last question. Nope, it's not the last question. Second to last question. Thanks, Jason. I have two questions, hope get answered. Is there a way to move the main Plex database and files from the NVIDIA Shield Basic Edition 2017 internal memory to the external drive? And two, are there any plans to make a comparison between Plex and the Emby media server? Thanks in advance. Okay, for number one, I gotta be honest with you. The NVIDIA Shield, I bought that thing to review it and I returned it. I didn't like it. I didn't need it. It was good enough to use kind of sort of as a media player, but I had an Xbox and it was too expensive for me just to buy and put on a shelf. So I did not have it long enough to really test that. I'm sorry. But for the second question, is there any plans to compare Plex and Emby? Maybe. And I say this maybe because, I am a Plex fanboy. I mean, I got Plex affiliate links and everything, in the description below, but I like to look at everything. Take my Emby transcoder thing as an example. Let's say, hypothetically, I lined Plex up against Emby and I compared them transcoding streams, right? And Emby was able to transcode literally twice as many streams at the same time than Plex could. Emby just, washed the board, just whooped up on Plex. If that were to happen, I would probably look at my decisions with Plex and say, you know what? maybe Emby's doing something a little bit better. Maybe I need to address that. And hell, who knows? Maybe I'll switch over. Now, of course, that didn't happen, but I'm just saying I like to look at things like that because even though I'm loyal to Plex at the moment, that can change in an instant. This is the way a lot of people are, which is why, programs or platforms like Plex have to stay on their toes and, keep relevant and keep updates out and not mess with people's privacy issues. So anyways, in the future, very possible. I don't have any really locked and loaded right now, but it is very possible. And the last question from Daniel. Jason, what transcoding bitrate is more taxing on the processor? From a large file original to a slightly smaller, or even to a much smaller 2 megabit streams, for instance? Well, I think this question really has to do with my standardized testing. You probably noticed that I always transcode my Back to the Future file all the way down to 2 megabits per second, always. I do this for one, it happened to be the number that I picked when I first started my testing, and for two, in my head I was thinking, okay, you have all these reads coming off this SSD, and then you have all these writes going on it at 2 or 8 or 10 megabits per second if you're encoding to just a slightly lower bitrate file. So in my head, I was thinking, okay, 2 megabits per second is a nice, like, hey, the processor's or the server's working, but you're not, writing a ton of information to the SSD while you're trying to read that same information in multiple different ways. So I picked 2 megabits for mainly, I just didn't want to hit any kind of bottleneck with the storage median itself. No science behind whether or not that was the best number to pick. It's just, I kept it constant, and that was really all that mattered. But, and here's this, I did try to answer your question. I fired up my test media server. It's running Windows currently. I did run the Back to the Future video file that I had already on there. The only reason why I tested is because it's already set up. So I did run it on there, and I tested it, going from like the 13 or whatever it is now down to a 10, something like that. And then I tested it going down to a 2, and both times it was at 100 or 98% CPU usage. That could be more along the lines of like Plex is just like, hey, not so much going on, so let's make this a super high, quality transcoding stream, and it's just kind of using what's available, which I've noticed before in the past. So to really test this out, I think it's probably going to have to be a more dedicated video to the subject. I'll write that on my little wall of ideas, where I would have to basically test out, how many transcoded streams can the server handle at X megabit, and then how many transcoded streams can it handle at X megabit, and then, or Y megabit, and then so on. Maybe test it on 3 or 4 different levels and see which one, hinders the system the most, and just kind of go from there. So I don't have a better answer for you right now, but I did try. I get points for that. All right, guys, well, that is it for today. Thank you for tuning in to another Jason Bytes back. I know it was a little shorter, but that's okay. I talked too much anyway, so it was probably a long video. So I'm gonna go throw this in, try to get it edited as quick as I can, get it uploaded, and start working on Zeus because it needs my help. So thank you for watching. Appreciate every single one of you. Huge shout out to my patrons that I'm going to list at the end of this video, and have a good night.